Okay, so your Unit 8 quiz will be on Monday, and here are the 3 review topics. We're going to factor quadratics, we're going to evaluate exponential functions, and we're going to simplify using laws of exponents. So let's begin. First example here is to factor the following quadratic. Now, there's all kinds of shortcuts that some of you felt as though you needed to come up with. However, the way that we're going to go about doing this process will remain the same. So first we're going to draw our box, then we're going to draw our diamond. Remember that the x squared term always goes in the bottom left of the box. Okay, the constant term always goes in the top right of the box. And that middle term with the x always goes in the bottom portion of the diamond. So that's the initial setup of this problem. To finish the setup, we're going to multiply those two boxes together to get negative 27x squared. Now the problem is completely set up. The next step of this problem is to ask ourselves, what two numbers do we need to multiply together that give us negative 27x squared, but when we add, gives us negative 6x. Typically, it's easiest to begin with the multiplication. So obviously, 27 and 1 would be one way to multiply and get 27. But if we add negative 27 and 1 or 27 and negative 1, we're not going to get negative 6. So we need to explore that further. And it turns out that negative 9 and 3, okay, so negative 9 plus 3 is negative 6. Negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. That ends up being our answer. And that's a guess and check process. You can use your calculators if you need to. Once you've established what those two are, we're going to fill them in to the remaining two boxes of our generic rectangle. It does not matter which of the two boxes they go in. Then we come to the final portion of this problem where we need to determine the outsides of this generic rectangle that would provide the area inside. So the only way to multiply and get an x squared is if we have an x times an x. If we have an x here, we would have to multiply that by a 3 to get 3x. If we have a negative 9x here, with this x, the only way to multiply and get that is negative 9. So the outside of the generic rectangle turns out to be the factored form of that quadratic. So the final answer here, well, actually what we'll do here is our area as a product is x plus 3, x minus 9. All right, the original problem here is our area as a sum. Okay, so that is the general idea of factoring quadratic. Next, we have evaluate the following exponential functions for the given values. This can be as simple as substituting the number provided in for x. So this is function notation. This is saying f of x. That means the function f at the x value provided. It's no different than saying y equals. Okay? So if we have f of 5, that means we're substituting 5 in place of x in the equation. So I would want to copy down the equation, except in place of the x, I want to use the number 5. Okay? A calculator here would probably help. You don't need any kind of special calculator, but you know, we can use our graphing calculators. So here's my graphing calculator. I'm just going to type in 15 times 2 to the power of 5. Make sure you use the caret key for the exponent here, and I hit enter and I get my answer of 480. So the answer to letter A is 480. Letter B, I'm going to repeat the process, 15 times 2, except this time I'm going to raise it to the negative third power. So I bring up my calculator, 15 times 2, exponent to the negative, make sure you use the negative sign, third power, and that's going to give me 1.875, so my answer here is 1.875. And that's all there is to that particular problem. Finally, on this quiz, we're going to have properties of exponents, all right, with no negative exponents. I'm actually going to rewrite that problem because it's a little blurry here on this page. So we have 3x to the negative third, y to the negative second, all of that being raised to the third power. And then we have 81 x to the fifth, y to the third. Now this was the most missed problem on the Chapter 7 test, so we're going to keep seeing this. We got to get good at it. All right, first things first, order of operations always says parentheses first. So what we want to do is we want to cube everything in the parentheses because of that 3. So that 3 is going to go here, here, and here. What do we get? Well, we get 3 cubed x to the negative 9th, because we multiply that, negative 3 times 3, and y to the negative 6th. Our denominator did not change. We still have 81, we still have x to the 5th, and we still have y to the 3rd. Okay, now we look at what we have, and we start to simplify some things. If we have negative exponents, we want to move them. Okay, there's a couple different ways to go about that process, but I'm going to stick by the moving process. Okay, only what has the negative exponent gets moved. So in this particular case, the x to the negative 9th gets moved to the bottom, and when it does, the exponent becomes positive. So I would want to just rewrite what I have. The only thing that has changed is I have now moved that x to the negative 9th to the denominator and made it positive. Okay, that's the step-by-step process. Okay, the next thing here that would be the y to the negative 6th. Just that moves to the denominator. So I'm going to rewrite everything I have. All right, I know I'm taking this step by step, but I think we need it. You know, even our best had this wrong on the Chapter 1 test. Okay, and y to the 6th. Now I can begin to simplify, remembering that, you know, I'm going to go numbers with numbers, x's with x's, y's with y's. So first things first, this x to the 9th and x to the 5th together would make x to the 14th. The y to the 3rd and the y to the 6th together would make y to the 9th. So I have my letters simplified. However, my numbers here, I have to figure out that 3 to the 3rd is 27, and then I want to determine what is 27 over 81. Can that be reduced? Sorry, let me highlight that differently. 27 over 81. Well, if you're not sure, just use the calculator and type in 27 over 81. It's going to give you a decimal. We don't want a decimal. So we're going to push math, fraction, and change it to a fraction, and we get 1/3. The 1 on top, the 3 on the bottom. So now I'm going to go back to my original problem. I'm going to rewrite the whole thing, remembering that the only thing I end up with on top is a 1. Number-wise, the 81 reduced to a 3. The x to the 14th, these x's were on the bottom. They're on the bottom of that bar. They don't go anywhere. They stay on the bottom. The y's were also on the bottom, so they stay on the bottom. So my best answer would be 1 over 3 x to the 14th, y to the 9th. The whole idea here with getting better at this particular problem is taking it step by step, because when I'm awarding points, a problem like this is going to be worth as many as 4 or 5 points. You know, 1 point being just this step right here. You get a point. Okay, if you try to just write an answer down and it's not correct, you're going to lose all the credit. So take it step by step. Cancel the things out that you can or that you know or whatever so that you can get some partial credit. And that's the 3 problems that are going to be on the quiz tomorrow. Good luck.